couple miles from here in Burgess High. My grandparents lived on Tejas Street, which is 3 to 4 blocks from here. So I've been on this road tens of thousands of times, right? What a delight to be here before you all today to speak. Now, we will eventually get to the how to keep you all out of trouble, but there are some recent developments that I do want to talk to you about. One of it being that I think it's really important. How many of you know what the TAR Legal Defense Fund does? Well, I know you know. Okay, so I always ask that because I think there's a lot of members that aren't aware of this program, even though all your dues dollars every single year go to the TAR Legal Defense Fund. And this fund is set up for situations, right, where we feel that there could be either a favorable precedent set on behalf of realtors across the state, or where a detrimental precedent could be set. And just for the sake of an example, let me give you two that were approved by the TAR Legal Review Committee. One of them dealt with an individual, a commercial broker in San Antonio, Texas, by the name of Wade Fitzgerald. And as you all know, in your contracts, there's a paragraph that discusses who will pay legal expenses, and it says the prevailing party, right? The non-prevailing party has to pay to the prevailing party legal expenses. For the most part, in American jurisprudence, our system is a little bit different from other systems around the world. In other systems, whether it be Paris or Mexico, the individual who wins always has his legal expenses paid for. The United States is an anomaly, and even though you can win a case and spend $200,000, and even though you were frivolously and wrongfully accused of doing something, you don't get your expenses paid. It's called the American rule. So Mr. Fitzgerald relied on that paragraph, right? Expended $100,000 to fight this frivolous lawsuit. And real quick, just to tell you what the lawsuit was about, there's a very, very sensitive area in central Texas called the Edwards Aquifer. Construction in the Edwards Aquifer is always a very complicated endeavor. And the individual who purchased the property was well aware that the property was situated on top of the Edwards Aquifer, and he knew, and he had been given the reports, and he bought the property, and he could not build what he wanted to build, so of course, what does he do? He goes around and he sues everyone, including the broker. This broker said, I'm not going to hire cheap counsel, I'm going to hire the best, and he did, and they went to jury, and there was 11 counts of fraud levied against him. And he won on every single one, right? So Mr. Fitzgerald is expecting to have his attorney's fees paid. Were they paid? No. The judge said, you're not the prevailing party because you didn't win anything, right? Well, if that's the case, then the person that's a defendant could never win. Because someone's trying to get money from you or damages from you, you're not trying to get damages from them. So again, that paragraph is very specific. And what I think it is, this is again, just conjecture, speculation, is that the Texas system is also very unique in that other states appoint judges. And what they do is they appoint a judge and they allow you, the voter, up or down on that judge. So a judge can be voted out, but not voted in. The people, maybe the governor, the Senate will appoint another judge. Texas has a system that has races. So judges then are beholden onto the lawyers that try cases in front of them, right? And if you make people pay for legal expenses, even when you win a case, that would have a chilling effect on litigation in the area. And that's why, again, this is all, again, to speculation. So we decided to fund Mr. Fitzgerald's case, and that's one. And another real quick example. This one dealt with, and I really felt bad for this woman. She was listing a property, and she had a sign outside. And this was out in the country, and there were some cattle. On the ranch. Now, the cattle got loose. and they walked onto the road. And a truck hit one of the steers. When that person got out of the vehicle, another vehicle came by. Now, this is the part that they don't talk about. The individual that was driving was drunk. Hits the steer that was on the ground and gets injured. Now, you're probably wondering, what does this have to do with real estate, with brokers, right? Well, when he filed suit a suit against the broker, stating that even though there was no evidence, even though the owner of the land said she didn't have the key for the property, even though the listing had actually ended 6 months prior to the accident happening, that she had left the gate open. So again, she's fighting this frivolous lawsuit, right? Of course, the moral of the story is remove your signage immediately after the listing ends, right? That kind of goes into what I'm going to discuss about keeping things, stay out of trouble, right? But once again, we felt that, this is an example of a case that would be beneficial, to all of you. And sometimes we do fund cases that are just based on frivolous matters. Okay, so that's the legal defense fund. So remember, if you all get embroiled in a legal action where you feel that either the cause of action was either A, completely frivolous, or B, is something that is something that has never been tried. That's also an important component, right? Have there been cases like this in the past? Please file for that legal defense fund. It's there for you all. The second thing I want to discuss before I talk about how to keep you all safe is our new citation policy. Who here is aware of the new citation policy? You guys are the kids in class that no one likes, The kids are always raising their hand. I have the answer. Well, what is this new citation policy, you ask? Okay. The state of California has we usually never copy anything California does, right? But once in a blue moon, once in a while, the state of California will come up with something good. And this was one of them. And their citation policy basically allows a realtor to just acknowledge that he did something wrong, right? Let me give you an example here. We have a couple of examples, where, let's say Article 4, failure to disclose realtor interest in property being bought or sold, right? That's something that can be shown just with paper. And you could prove again that, I didn't disclose that. Or the same thing that can be said about advertising. An advertising violation. Here's the ad. It's right here. So what we're doing is we're allowing that individual, instead of going through the entire hearing process, which is extensive, it takes time. I mean, right now, it's usually taking about 6 months to resolve a complaint. Now, we're still doing better than Trek. I can tell you that. But don't blame Trek, though. It's not all Trek's fault. I mean, they really are backlogged, and they don't have enough attorneys and investigators to properly investigate all these different cases. But right now, our turnaround time is 6 months. With this new citation policy, we'll make that turnaround time 30 days. Now, of course, one of the most fundamental rights that anyone has in this country is a forum in which to defend him or herself in, right? I mean, that's in our Bill of Rights. So an individual, even though the ad or whatever it is, the documentation provides more than enough evidence to prove that an individual had violated the articles, everyone, of course, is still entitled to a hearing. So no one is going to have to accept, they can ask for a hearing, and due process, as Mr. Hamilton said, will be fulfilled. I mean, we will have due process done. The other part that has gotten some pushback is the new citation policy will allow realtors to file anonymous complaints, right? Now, there are some people that feel that if you can file anonymous complaints, that people will file frivolous complaints. That is not the opinion of the board that recommended this and the opinion of TAR. Our opinion is actually the opposite. And I tell you all because, like Mr. Hamilton told you, the number of hearings that I'm attending, and I'll tell you this, to me it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that in Dallas and in Houston, so of course those are the biggest cities in the state, you would expect there to be more complaints filed. But even when you take that away, even when you do it per capita, there are a higher rate of complaints filed in Dallas and Houston. Why? Because in Dallas and Houston, there's 26,000 realtors. The odds of me, dealing with another realtor are small. The smaller the community is, the more the odds are that you are going to have to deal with this person over and over again. And rightly so, a lot of members, it has a chilling effect, and they won't file a complaint because that is going to sour a business relationship, especially in times like these. Are you going to do that? Are you going to potentially sour a relationship that you have with someone else? Probably not. So I don't believe that realtors in El Paso or in small towns, to me, people are people. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, they're no more ethical in a small town than they are in a big city. I think that people who grow up in small towns are more ethical and moral because the community is smaller, and when you do something wrong, someone knows your dad, someone knows your mom, someone knows your uncle, your cousin, your friends, etc. So in a weird way, the community keeps you moral, keeps you ethical, and that's a great thing. So, and again, when we get an anonymous complaint, the standard of review will be much higher. In the law, you will always hear about different standards of review. How about for a criminal? What's the standard of a criminal trial? Beyond a reasonable doubt, right? Beyond a reasonable doubt. There's other standards, where it's the weight of the evidence. So this one's kind of like a little scale, right? Well, I can tell you that with the anonymous complaints, the standard review that's going to be used will be, it's not officially beyond a reasonable doubt, but that is the kind of care, that is the kind of attention that the board, the grievance committee will look at before they, move forward with a complaint. And remember, keep in mind that every individual who has a complaint filed against them does have the option of having a hearing. That will never be taken from them. Okay.